Saudi Arabia owns a large stake in a firm that bought the Democratic Party's campaign tech. This sounds as bad as it is. I mean, the Democratic Party is rigged anyway, but, why not sell it to Saudi Arabia? I love how we're like, oh, yeah, the Democratic Party is fucking horrific. It's sold. The primaries are rigged. They're rigged in about 15 different ways. But also on top of that, we're going to sell the technology to Saudi Arabia because who needs it? The government of Saudi Arabia is an investor in the private company that owns a virtual monopoly on software that powers Democratic candidates, including management of the Democratic National Committee's all-important voter list. So this is important. This is actually part of how the DNC rigs their primaries. So in the primaries, you have two Democrats going against each other, right? You usually have the establishment figure, and then sometimes you'll have some lesser known figures that are going against them. Now, in the big cases, the establishment figure was Hillary or Joe Biden, and the slightly non-establishment figure was Joe Biden or the other people on the Democratic dais, those during the debates, people like Marianne Williamson and stuff. But in the lower levels, you also have a usually establishment character that's been in the Senate forever or House or whatever, or they are endorsed by all of the big machinery. When the primary happens and the usually more progressive, that's generally what happens, is a actual progressive or someone closer to a progressive goes up against the sack of shit Democrat. You have they need information, right? They have to run around. They have to make tons of money because donations in order to even have a chance of winning. So they have to run around to everybody. Well, who's the best people to run around to get that money? Well, of course, one is the rich, but beyond that, it's everybody who is already a supporter of the Democratic Party, who already regularly donates to the Democratic Party, who already regularly votes for the Democratic candidate. Those are the people that you need to go around to get that money and to get signatures. You need tens of thousands of signatures. So where's best to get those? Oh, the Democratic voters. That information is often hidden from the primary challenger because they have all that information, the DNC does, but they don't want to give it to the primary challenger because they want the establishment candidate to win easily. So they use this data very effectively to help rig their primaries. Sanabil, is that how it's pronounced? Sanabil Investments, the company that manages Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. List of investments includes two private equity firms involved 2 years ago in the sale and acquisition of Every Action and NGP Van, the companies that make up the Democratic Party's campaign tech apparatus. The fund is one of the world's largest, the Saudi Arabia fund, with $620 billion in assets. In addition to investments in Apex Partners, which acquired NGP Van. So I guess it was two, and now it's one. When two become one? Oh no, Every Action also. Okay, which Apex Partners acquired NGP Van and Every Action in August 2021. So there were two companies that run all of the Democratic Party's campaign tech apparatus, and they were both bought by one company. So now Apex Partners owns the whole shebang. Sanabil is also invested in Insight Partners, another venture capital and private equity firm that invested in Every Action in 2018 and sold parts of the company to Apex in 2021. Other Saudi investments disclosed recently include Blackstone, which you heard me talk about BlackRock. Blackstone is the country's largest landlord. They own, in terms of a private company, they own more rental properties than any other company in America. But, and I know you may go, oh, well, at least Blackstone's not buying up the whole country. Well, Blackstone is their top shareholder is BlackRock. So it all comes back to BlackRock. The Santa bill investment doesn't mean the Saudi government has an interest in the functions of the companies. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that part. Instead, said progressive strategist Gabe Tobias, the disclosure is a further indication that the fate of every action an NGB fan is not a priority for their owners. They just don't care. It's said Gabe Tobias. It's so important to the Democratic Party and to progressive organizations, and it's owned by a thing that absolutely doesn't care about them or even know they exist. I don't know if that's true. It might be true, but either way, if it's not true, then that's fucked up that Saudi Arabia is controlling the tech of the Democratic Party. That's a problem. And if that were true, then maybe they're trying to push things towards Democratic members that will not question Saudi Arabia, will not question them when they, kill a million people in Yemen with our help, or may not question them when they, chop up a Washington Post journalist. Anyway, that would be if they did care. Now, let's assume that this guy's right and they don't care about what's done with this tech that they're now heavily invested in. That's also fucked up, because that shows that this is how capitalism works, right? Something that is very important to certain people is owned by an entity that doesn't give a shit about it except that it makes money. And so how could they possibly do what's best for that entity if they don't give a shit about it unless it makes money? But that's how the system works, right? That's how our wonderful system works. In 2016, Saudi Arabia announced its Vision 2030 plan to transition its economy away from dependence on oil and gas and towards tech investment. Sanabill's disclosure indicates more spending on that front. Now, I would love to see that, Saudi Arabia divesting from fossil fuels. Of course, that would be another blow to the petrodollar, because the petrodollar's biggest partner is Saudi Arabia. It doesn't really exist without Saudi Arabia. But I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that their production of oil would decrease at all. So I don't know how much to believe Saudi Arabia is divesting much or decreasing the production of and use of fossil fuels. Anyway, I thought this article was important to bring to you, that the Democratic Party's tech, which is everything. I mean, you take away tech from anything, a corporation, a party, whatever, and you take their pride and joy tech away from them, and they have no idea what the hell they're doing, which is exactly what would happen if this were taken away. Now, do I care? I mean, with a corrupt Democratic Party, no, but they use this tech. The Democratic Party uses this tech to make sure that progressives don't, even on the lower levels, obviously on the presidential level, but even on the lower level, don't successfully challenge the rich and the ruling elite and the destructive, vampiric, entrenched Democratic machine. So that's what this tech is used for. Could be used for other things. Could be used for good, not evil, but they would never do that.